Welcome all. For the benefit of our applicant, I will read the introductory comments. This is a meeting of the Town of Qualicum Beach Advisory Planning Commission. The Advisory Planning Commission makes recommendations to Council on matters respecting land use, community planning, and related bylaws and permits as referred by Council or the Director of Planning. The APC is advisory and does not have any direct approval, ownership, or authority over matters that are referred to it. Council may or may not adopt the recommendations by this commission. The following sequence is to be followed for the new item on the agenda. Short introduction to the application from town staff, presentation by the applicant, questions to the applicant, our decision, and then the motion. To ensure, well, we want to hear this particularly constructive, so we'll carry on to the agenda, which is, if I could have a motion to adopt the agenda.
I make a motion.
Andrew, seconded by Walter. All those discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, carried. Amendment to item 2, approval of the minutes. It was a long time ago, December.
Yeah.
Can I have a motion to move the minutes as presented? Walter, seconded. Andrew, discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, carried. Now we'll move into business arising from the minutes. Any business? Seeing none. We'll move on to new business. So we're going to housekeep. Go ahead.
Sure, I'll speak to this one. So we are in person again. So the question is, first of all, is everyone okay with it? Since you all made it today, I think that's okay. But the second question is, how we're going to record meetings in the future and whether you're okay still with the meetings being recorded. Right now, we have the way we're set up is your faces would not be on the camera, but we have discussed the possibility of moving back into the council chambers, in which case it would be a more like room scale video recording likely, and wanted to see whether that's acceptable or whether we should try to trim it back to just faces, or I just want your feedback on how you want to handle things moving forward. Certainly there's value to recording, but how that's done is flexible.
I have no issues. I'm cool either way. Yeah.
Andrew?
I think that it's really important that we are recorded and that people can see us.
Yeah.
And I think it's been proved in the past.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah.
I think
I think it's very important. I think while we're in Zoom, I think that our recordings were listened to, because you
Yeah.
heard comments.
It sounded like it.
hearing at APC.
Yeah.
I also think it adds an element to what has been discussed here in council, the having public information meetings prior to public hearings and what have you. I think if we can encourage attendance by the public at our meetings, that gives them the first blush at the application. It might answer a lot of the questions that they pose later, or they confront the developer at the public hearing. It also, I think, provides the applicant with a view of who is sort of involved in perhaps the pushback on the development or support of. I think it has a great advantage to the whole process.
Yeah, I do. I like to just piggyback on that comment because I've done this a long time now. And I think it's really important for the civic culture. I think it's important that we cultivate the understanding on behalf of the public that this group really is thinking about their overall welfare as a community. And they don't really know that much about us. So the more we can do to give the committee and the role of the committee a profile in the community, I think it's a very good thing to do.
And to that point, is there an opportunity for us to be more public about what our meetings are in terms of notices?
But they're always public.
No, but I mean in terms
Like
of announcing
promotion.
them, whether it be in the newspaper or we know that when we go to the website and see when when we're meeting, but to try to encourage.
Yeah.
attendance, not participation, but attendance at.
I think if that is your goal, maybe make a motion and then it would go through, because I wouldn't do that without, the blessing of council because.
No.
So in other words, if you make a motion and you say, the APC recommends that members be encouraged to attend APC meetings to foster proactive, development.
Did you have that
Engagement.
motion there? Bernadette, did you catch that motion? I think Walter made?
It'd be very important that we didn't conflict with council reporting in the newspaper.
Mhm.
We're not co-opting council.
No, that's
We're
correct.
just advising the council.
Yeah, we just make a recommendation to council for more, some information sharing with the public. And whether it can be done on just our website or town tidings or through the newspaper.
Yeah.
So that there's, the projects that are out there can be communicated in a very.
Because currently, how would somebody find out? They have to make the effort to go into the website and go down
And
and,
see great meetings. And
Right.
then listed with planning and the public safety.
so make it a little easier.
Heritage forest.
It's happening more though, like we're like, I'm hearing a lot of comments, like in some of these meetings that we've had about APC. And it's only because the people have been at home for 2 years and watching it on a computer.
Mhm.
And it's, I think it's great, because it's referencing some of the things that people are concerned about.
Well, then let's take Walter's motion that we recommend to council that the public be aware that APC are open to the public as for observation.
Yeah.
And that we encourage them. Seconder, Susan, second. Oh, all those in the discussion, all those in favor? Passed. Okay, perfect, awesome, that's great. I think that really is a great step forward.
You know what it also does really, if that happens and public do come here,
Mhm.
they get an opportunity to meet with the group too, the builder or the developer.
Developer days, yeah.
Because I remember in the old days that it was good to talk to them, just after the meeting, just
Mhm.
talk to them for a bit.
Well, we had
Great idea.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lee.
Can I
Okay,
have
we'll
an
move on.
administrative question? Sorry, if we're recording, our faces okay to be recorded and distributed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, what I would like to, I'm sorry, I mentioned, I do think we should follow what has been done previously, that once the application has been dealt with,
Mhm.
that be destroyed.
I think that's entirely fair.
So I would make that motion.
What's that? What was that? Sorry.
Oh, like that,
Oh, the
once,
recording
as
destroyed?
we have done with the audio portion, that once the council has dealt with the application, that the recording be discarded. So any record of our meetings would then be discarded according.
Well, the minutes will live forever, but
The minutes.
your
well,
video
the
will
minutes-
not.
Well, the minutes don't really give background. That's the problem. So a seconder for that.
Sure.
Thank you, Susan. Discussion, all those in favor? Carried. Perfect. Okay. So we will, I guess we should. Put it on mute. All right, sorry. Okay, item 2 is the development permit at the 2712 Island Highway West. So we have the representative of the applicant.
They're, what I understand is that they're here to just answer questions. They're not going to be presenting. But can I just check they can hear us okay? Because you're a
Yes.
bit farther away. So would you mind checking to see if they can hear you?
Can the applicant's representatives hear us?
I can hear you. It's a bit echoey, but also Candace and Kevin are from the installer builder as well. This is Sam.
I am here. I'm here. I can hear. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I am here and I can hear as well. Thank you.
Then since there's no presentation, we will have to deal with the material that is. Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait, no, that's
Luke.
okay. If if you don't mind, I'll just.
Oh,
give
that's
a-
right.
A
I'm
very
sorry,
brief
it's been a while.
introduction to, I know it's
Yes, sorry.
different practice. So
Yeah.
before the APC today is a development permit application to replace the signage at 2712 Island Highway West, which is the Shell gas station. There's 4 businesses as a part of this service station, which includes the gas station, laundromat, convenience store, and bank machine. So there's a reason that's kind of important is that there are limitations in the sign bylaw for the number of signs per business, right? And so if you consider it as multiple businesses, it gives them a little bit more. However, what they are allowed is limited in terms of the size of the signs and the size of the lettering and a few other factors. They've requested signage that exceeds the maximum size and number of signs in the sign bylaw. That can be varied by way of a development permit. So that's why we're here today. It's a development permit that doesn't require going to council. So this is one that I have referred to you, because I'm looking for your input as to, what aspects of the development permit to approve, how the signage should be handled. So what we've done in the staff memo is kind of tried to consolidate all the facts around the signs that are proposed into that table that says what's permitted and what they're requesting in terms of size, but also in your package, it has the guidelines for the development permit area and all the renderings and whatnot. What we're hoping to get out of the meeting is some recommendations as to which signs should be approved as is, which ones should be approved or denied, and which ones would be approved subject to any changes. And I'm sure that the discussion will take care of itself from now on. It usually does, but I'm happy to answer any questions as they come up.
Luke, are we gonna have some visuals to look at?
We could, because we have the agenda there, so that's a great idea, because we can scroll down.
I
not
got my
easy.
package at 11:30 this morning,
Okay,
so I was really looking forward to a presentation
okay.
to have a better understanding. So I'm going to definitely need some visuals.
And they're really tricky.
They are,
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't have enough time to really make a good sense of them.
So Bernadette, are you gonna pull up the council agenda, or sorry, the committee agenda?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Perfect.
I'd like to say something just to begin if I could.
Okay, I just have a question.
Yes.
Luke, with this application, it basically supersedes then what is in place now. Is that correct? Or
Correct.
something if something is denied, one of the signs is denied, or council denies it, does that allow the existing sign to stay under the development permit?
It depends. I think most of the signage was put in after the sign bylaw, so most of it would have to go if it's not approved.
You know, which one of the sign?
Our understanding is that all the signage was replaced because it wasn't a shelf at the time that was replaced. So unless they could make a compelling argument that they just changed the name from whatever it was before to shell, probably all of it would have to be.
Okay, good, thank you. Andrew, you have,
I may be totally out of the box. I'm comfortable being out of the box. No. If you look at
just
this,
maybe speak up.
oh, sure. If I may be out of the box, I'm comfortable being out of the box. I don't know what instructions have been given. If you look at the drawing, at the rendering on the screen, you'll notice something quite amazing. Does anyone see what it is?
There's no roundabout.
There is no roundabout.
Well, there's a circle.
Yeah, there's a circle to represent that.
Yes, but I just want to say at the beginning, as I said, I'm out of the box, so please tell me to shut up. But the roundabout for Qualicum Beach is an invaluable exercise in placemaking. As soon as it was built, people started walking around it. People are walking around it every day. They're walking out on the rocks in front of it. All of a sudden, the Qualicum Beach Inn looks like it is somewhere. And ironically, the gas station looks like it is somewhere too. It's an exercise in placemaking. And what I really want to say is, as far as I can tell, all the information we're being given here about signage has not been done in the context of placemaking. It's just corporate signage on a corporate structure, as if the town doesn't exist. And my general comment about the roundabout, which I love, even though it's not finished, There are too many signs, and there is this a coordinated signage plan. Many of the signs are ridiculously high. They're not needed. We need a coordinated signage plan that makes that place thoroughly beautiful. And I don't think this way of thinking is necessarily the best way to go about that. But I just want to say that's where I am to start with.
So Roger, your comments forward prior to questions.
I did, but I just thought it's
Oh,
really,
that's okay.
it's really easy with a thing like this to start focusing on that detail or that detail or that detail. But I mean, the charm of this whole situation is what it's doing for the context, for everything there. It's placemaking. And it would be really sad if we got lost in discussing individual details.
Well, I think it does help with a segue into talking about each and every one of these signs.
That's all I have to say.
I'm glad you,
Walter, can we kind of start to talk about the individual signs and ask some questions for clarification as to why, what if, and then we can get into our comments. based on-
Okay, let me just do one, just real quick.
okay.
There's a
well,
sign
I'll
there
let
that
you-
isn't being dealt with. Right on the curve are 3 vent pipes above the tanks. They're horrible. We got to do something about them. Why aren't we talking about signage that's going to be removed? That's ugly. Because all these issues come in. I'm sorry, Walter.
Yeah,
I didn't say
I,
anything else.
that's what actually I was going to allude to. Has the applicant looked at other approaches to signage on this building because, or on the structure? Because I understand marketing and having a corporate image and all that other stuff. But there's things that we see in Qualicum Beach that we want to kind of start the project with in terms of some of the product that we want. Why are we doing the vinyl or the type of product that's on the building? Has there been any other products looked at? And maybe even like across the street, they've got wood siding or cedar, and then using the corporate images that you have. So has that been considered by the applicant?
It's a question to the applicant.
Yes, it is.
Sorry, you would like me to answer?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
So Kevin might be able to talk more about what was considered as part of signage, as he works direct with Shell. But what I can say is that these are a national rollout, and we are really changing just the same as what's already there. As far as design materials, Kevin, maybe you'd want to talk about that a little more.
I can step into that. Over the course of the past 5-6 years, we've been doing a lot of these throughout Western Canada, and just bringing the image up, because some of the locations have been. It's been a long time since they've had a refresh, and they look like they've been back from the 80s and 90s in some locations. This particular site, I believe used to be a Payless, if I'm not mistaken. I know a lot of the Shell sites on the island used to be Paylesses, and they've rebranded them to Shell. This site is fairly old. As to looking at different materials and different signage types, I don't think anything has been looked at for that, because typically they go in and they do this and try to keep it not cookie cutter, but keep the image very symmetrical with the other sites. You know, like if McDonald's were to change their image, they'd want to keep their standards and their branding the similar wherever they go. If there is a different style, or the city needs a different style, that's something that Shell we would have to find out from the city, and that's kind of the whole reason why we're trying to apply for permits, because we need to find out if we can do this. And again, we're just trying to replace the signage that's there with a little bit more modern signage.
Your large sign that you have out on the street, that's just really that's a 25-foot pole with your emblem on it and some other information. Has it ever been considered to use some sort of signage that may be a little bit lower profile, similar to some of the other signage along the Island Highway there, particularly what we see, let's say at the hotel across the street. It's lower profile, but everybody, you see it, it's nice, it's fitting, it's using different materials. If it's been considered and there's a reason that you can't use it, I'd be interested in knowing what the reasons were.
You know, typically I know, and I can't speak for Shell and what they want for design. Typically what happens is they tell us what they're proposing to put in. And it is pretty much cookie cutter depending on the size. So because of that size location, that size of sign and that type of sign, typically we actually replace it with a sign like is proposed in this situation. And that's typically what we've done in the past. I know that there has been different city requirements and changes and stuff. I know that, I'm not sure if you guys have been to the location at Souk, I think it is. They've got a different style just because Souk has a different style request from the city or whatever to conform with different things. And each city is, you know, unique, I guess. They've got their own unique twist on different things. But typically, yeah, we're going to go in and that type of sign that is there, we would remove it and we'd put up this type of style sign, typically. And that's kind of what we're asking for from the city. Now, if the city says, no, we got to, you know, make a few changes, then, you know, that's something that we need to know so we can go back to the client and say, hey, listen, can we change something? Can we work on this to get this approved? I do know with the roundabout going in there, the city asked us to move the base and move the pylon sign and stuff like that. We did that. We built the base designed for a larger sign, basically the one that we were hoping to get. If it's smaller, it's still fine. But again, we needed to have some sort of, we had to move forward on it. So now we kind of realize that we got to get the signage package approved so we can proceed with relocating it.
Maureen, I know that you haven't seen the material.
Well, I have briefly, but it was, I see, you have to bend your mind around it. I think some really good comments have come up in that it's cookie cutter. And I get it. I get the corporate image. I know, you know, the key logos and things that have to stand out and have to be visible. But if they can even just be put on a more sensitive background, or the way they're presented, however they're attached or freestanding structure. I'm quickly looking over my shoulder here, and that big sign is white. With, you know, white background with really.
I think we're getting into comments. I think really what we want to do is to find out what
the
applicant has done to try to address.
Yes, I am jumping ahead.
Guidelines that the town has for signage.
So it does sound like it is, what they're presenting is very much cookie cutter, and I think the question came up already, is have alternate materials being considered that would be more sensitive. Now, maybe before I address that completely to the applicant, to Luke, maybe you can help me understand the sort of process. If other, like they actually suggested soup, it'd be really interesting to see what they did. Are there more, again, just to sort of refresh me, what are the requirements as far as materials and things go in the village?
The only requirement is that, well, I mean, the one that comes up most frequently is guidelines for illumination, you know, where it's only the lettering or logo can be illuminated, the rest has to be opaque. So that's the guideline, but there's no, say, prohibition on plastic or aluminum or material in that way.
Okay, so no guidelines or standards for what materials are actually used. Okay, so
that being said, Mill Bay does not have illuminated red bar around the entire thing, but their Shell logo, their design on their canopy is illuminated. So that is an option where we don't have to put the illumination portion in there.
But you are sticking to standard materials.
Yeah, it's sticking to the same materials. Yeah.
As you said, so it's sort of a cookie cutter. At this point, it's a cookie cutter design, and this is what is usually goes up as a standard for the client. Okay. Okay, I think that's it then.
Susan? Questions?
The quantity of signs seems to be amazingly over the top. Is there a reason why that you need to have that much signage on one building? Or the same thing in particular?
I'm not 100% sure why the exact, signage is a lot more. Typically, we're replacing exactly what's there with signage. And I think with the car wash, putting a little bit more of the branding around the car wash is just basically to finish that off to make it look consistent. And again, that's stuff that we've done multiple times in the past at multiple locations.
How did you address the guidelines that are in the town's development permit area C3 regarding the beach commercial?
I'll be 100%. That I would have to leave with priority permits, as they were, they're applying for this on our behalf. So they would know all those individual things on the cities.
Is priority permits here to speak to that?
I'm from Priority Permits, Ryan Matthews.
Okay, Brian, if you could.
Sorry, like we don't actually have the bylaws and this stuff ahead of time. So, I mean, we don't.
Is there a reason for that, Brian? I don't understand the reason why you would.
We apply for what our client wishes, and then we work with the city to come up with a compliant proposal or something in their interest.
You don't act as a consultant then.
We do something called a code check, but it wouldn't come up with these kinds of guidelines that talk more about like the design of the area and setbacks of buildings and such. We simply do like sign area, a number of signs, setbacks to property lines for signage, stuff like that. So this wouldn't really be in our purview. So yeah, we're more of like the administrative, and then we do some consulting based on the sign bylaw if it's requested of us. But as far as design guidelines for signage, like how it's designed and where it's put, we don't really deal with that per se.
So how would those questions be answered? How could this board, a commission, get those answers?
Well, if you're looking at, like, say, number one, the scale setback of the building shall not detract from the board view of the beach, stuff like that. That's your kind of question?
That's my question.
It like I would say to that, it's replacing stuff that's been existing for years. I know you think it says it's a lot of signage, but really it's a lot of paneling that's replacing the existing, and there's only one sign per unit, really, right? So one says the laundromat and one says the shell, and then they're replacing the canopy signage, which is already existing. So it's not really an addition of signage as much as a revamping. So if there hasn't been complaints in the past, we would say, well, there's, we're not adding to it, basically. It's existed for years.
I think as Luke indicated to us at the beginning, the permits that you have in place are for those signs. You're now making an application for new signs. Although they're in the same location, they're new signs. Therefore, it is a new application that has to be addressed, as I have indicated, with the commercial area, the beach commercial area guidelines. So we're really stymied here if you haven't been able to deal with them as such. Obviously, it was done in suit. And perhaps the same process should be followed as you've done there.
Right. And honestly, we could have had more of a presentation for this, but it was kind of not enough notice for us. 2 weeks ago, we heard about this and didn't really have that much time to get it done. But we are like, that's part of the permit process for us, right? We apply, you tell us, oh, here are some changes, here are some ideas, and then we work on it together to come up with something that everybody's
Yes.
going to be happy with, both Shell and the city. We're not here to force what we're asking for
Correct.
down the throats of the people. We just want to, it's getting our foot in the door to have a discussion with you. You tell us, oh, change this, we would like to see this. And then we go back to Shell and we tell them what you said, and we make adjustments accordingly. And hopefully at the end, we come up with something that everybody loves and is okay with.
Correct. Yes.
Complicates the way we do things here in terms of us being able to advise council, because council's looking to issue a development permit for you in terms of the criteria that is in our land use bylaws and guidelines. So we're kind of got the cart before the horse. And, we can help you here, but it's going to delay the process. You could either seek more information about how our guidelines work and deal with Shell that way, or by us basically recessing this meeting, or we can provide our comments to council, and then we'll see where all that falls out as the process proceeds. And
Well, I'm listening very carefully, and I think, first of all, I want to say something. So many people have said they didn't think the roundabout would work. And then as it got toward completion, they loved it. And so many people said, why couldn't you have got rid of the Shell station? I didn't feel that way. I thought the roundabout has given the Shell station a real prominence, and I really like it. And my response to that is, what could we do to the Shell station and its ancillary that would really give it the same kind of quality character presence as the Qualicum Beach Inn? Why couldn't we just look at that and say, those buildings aren't bad. Maybe if we could reduce the canopy a little bit away from the roundabout and take out 2 pumps, I don't know. Maybe we could take out the vent pipes, I don't know. But what could we do to really give the Shell station the sense of the kind of prestigious Shell station you expect in a characterful town? But we haven't given them the instructions to do that. And that's what I think is missing. And I feel for these guys because they haven't been asked to think that way. They've just been, they're just cleaning things up and adjusting things. But I think as a citizen of Qualicum, I want the Shell station to look like the one in Souk sounds. Like, this is unique because this community is unique. But we haven't told them what we want, or how to get there. But I think it can be done. I don't think there's anything wrong with the Shell station. I just think there's some cosmetic things that would make a huge difference. And I think you'd have the community thinking, looking at it and saying, God, we thought this wouldn't work with a roundabout, but now that you've done that to the Shell station, it all works. That's, I think, where we need to go. So we need about $25,000 for a signage consultant. No, seriously, or $15,000 for a signage consultant to come up with a concept and then talk to these guys.
I think you've got a great idea, Andrew, because we can't ask them to change the building is what it is, but the signage could do so much.
It could really bring the building into the 21st century.
I concur entirely with what you just said, Andrew, and I think the question for Brian, have you been down to the site at all and had a look at what we've got there? Because it's like Andrew said, like all of a sudden this thing that had controversy built around it, it's now become almost like a little jewel. And it's actually made the quality, the inn across the street look better. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing looks better. And if we can do exactly this, if we can replicate even some of it across the street at the Shell station and make it look like the rest of the jewel. Let's put a really nice finish to what's going on over there. And I also want to concur with another thing that Andrew had mentioned earlier is about the signage that's on the site and let's have another look at some of that as well, because how do you leave the place and just because it's not really there, it's you want to pull out, and then I was there the day before yesterday and I was to leave and I ended up, oh geez, I've got to go right, Because there's no signage to tell me, symbolically, I gotta go in another direction. So it's a signage, it's not just the signage there at the station, but it's also a little bit more around it as well, should be looked at. And if we had enough money, I'd take those doggone hydro poles out of there too. I'm thinking,
A lot
what?
of them out of there, but.
Oh,
We're getting a little.
I know, but we've got a tough task here
But
to
it was-
get by.
It was funny to watch them put in the signage. All of a sudden, there's a pedestrian sign here, there's a crosswalk, there's another pedestrian sign.
Yeah.
Just too many signs. Actually a traffic obstruction. The
Okay.
signage is an obstruction.
Susan, but we're in the comments now, so.
I-
There are any questions or comments? Susan, do you have a comment?
Well, I agree, and I think that, looking at, obviously the Shell wants to have their product endorsed more in the area by their signage, but, the building itself is probably just as much the issue, the presence of it. Like, there's a really nice gas station in Northville. That you don't feel like you're at a gas station, you feel like you're at a,
This is on the way to the highway.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, the one.
It's got character.
Yeah, it's got character, and so I'm sure the owners of the Shell station are interested in doing an update for our purposes, and I'm sure Shell's not involved in that, but that's the kind of vision that I think we're talking about, is having something that we can be proud of when we're entering.
So question it.
Okay, 14th.
Was there a question for me in there?
No, I have a question for the group more, and that is, it sounds like you're talking about like an integrated signage and potentially facade renovation. Like if you're talking about
When we saw
one
that,
package.
what a good makeover was down in Parksville there, where KM countertops and all that, it just, and I don't know who paid, the owner of the building paid for that, but maybe that's something that Bolton would like to be involved in, is participating in making something like that.
I thought, oh, the Shell station should go. And then as it all sort of came together, I
Don't do
thought
that.
that, no, wait a minute, the Qualicum Beach Inn it's a low two-story, essentially horizontal flat roof structure. And on the other side of the road, roundabout, we got another flat roof structure. They're okay. The form of the building seems okay to me. What could be done with the things you're hanging on, the signage, to kind of pull it all together, quieten it down a bit, and give it a sense of really feeling comfortable there, instead of a cookie cutter.
Susan, if you're finished, just what we're seeing here, and I think the applicant or the representative is, let us know. They didn't have a clue.
No.
Just
We didn't ask for
Shell
anything.
said, this is the way we do things across the country. And if we look at the refit that was in Parksville and at French Creek, that's what we got here. We got the signage, and this is where it goes on the canopies, this is where it goes on buildings, and it's across the country, and we've got a unique, and I'm sorry, Qualicum Beach is not unique.
We got an example.
No, it is unique.
So,
It is.
I'm sorry, it's unique. I'm sorry. Can I just finish?
Yeah.
You guys have all talked. I want to have a little say here. I think
Go, Bill.
you really have to go back. Shell is spending a lot of money to do this. So if you want to go back and forth with them with bits and pieces, I think you need to go back to them and get their head a shake. This is a unique town. The location has its issues, which you've heard, both in terms of the roundabout now infringing on it, the number of signs, the look of it, based on the character of our waterfront and where we want to see our waterfront go. This is a gas station, it's an important amenity in our town. We only have one other gas station. It provides a laundromat, which is great for our tourists. It provides a convenience store for our tourists. So it's a valuable amenity to have there. It's just that the signage is ugly, and it's not in keeping with what I believe the town, the OCP, is looking for development on the waterfront. This is an opportunity. Unfortunately, you have to change some of the structure, but this is an opportunity for you to become more consistent with the hope of the look for Qualicum. So
We have an example just down the road, at landfill. I watched them build that gas station.
Yeah.
And I thought, Rowan Iredale are designing a gas station. I couldn't believe it. I watched them bring in those blue lanterns. And I'm not suggesting a rebuild. I'm just saying, the First Nations people decided they wanted a place. They wanted to stop the traffic, and you could see them lined up at the Tim Hortons. And it's because of the quality of that building. It's because of the way it looks.
You want to go there. You want
You
to go
wanna
there,
go
even if
there.
you don't need
Yeah.
anything, you want to go there.
The unfortunate thing with that is those 3 islands with this signage have taken away all the First Nation feature of that structure. Anyways,
I think it's a real place.
another comment that I have is that this signage is in place. We've seen it. All it is a little modernization
Yes,
on it. The only issue I have is the pylon sign. That pylon sign, we're not on highway, the inland highway. We're not in the midst of other large pylon signs where you're screaming for attention by the driver. I believe that with the proliferation of signs, Andrew was already mentioned there, I think that pylon sign is totally inappropriate. And what we would like to see, I would like to see, is perhaps a monument sign. Monument signs are done in many municipalities to take away the proliferation and confusion that pylon signs make. And it can be designed to provide all of that information you have on your corporate logo, your pricing, the fee or the amenities that you have within your facility. So that would be a very strong recommendation. I think.
Thank you, Bill, because that's what I wanted to say when I was going to comments for questions.
To the group. So I'm not sure how you want to handle this in terms of would the applicant like us to make those recommendations that this be refused in its totality, and that you then have the opportunity to go back to Shell and deal with the comments that have been made here? Or do you want us to proceed as we normally do and make our recommendation?
I feel very strongly it's not up to the applicant.
No, I'm just thinking, I want to hear from him as what he thinks is process, because the Shell
needs to
seems
hear
to
from
have
others.
some process that isn't fitting into the way we normally look at applications.
Yeah.
Is there any preference for the applicant?
Well, I would just like to say, I'd like to get feedback from you guys as to how you'd like to see it, so we can go back and take that to Shell, 100%. With that being said, the pylon is a little bit tricky of a situation too, because of where it's located. Now, we want to relocate that because with the road being built there, they took away the parking on the Shell side on that side. So we moved the parking to the other side. So we had to move the pylon over. That being said, there's a lot of underground amenities there. There's the electrical there. So we have to keep that sign actually either like a flag pointing out towards the road, or we'd have to keep it up high enough so that way any cars that park there, vehicles that park there, that they can go underneath the sign.
The question is, if you had a monument sign that was single faced out to the highway, that would be, and with the slowness of the traffic going around the circle and approaching from either side, or I should say, egressing from one and aggressing from the other, that would be able to provide sufficient information at that level.
So you're just talking a lower sign, or are you talking the sign
A
that's
monument
facing out?
sign that probably wouldn't be more than 4 or 5 feet tall.
Okay, that I mean, you guys can provide the feedback, and definitely we're going to take it back to Shell, 100%. I can't say yes or no, obviously. That's for our client to say.
What I'm observing in this meeting is that the town, the only instruction the town has given the consultants for Shell is the existing signage bylaws and guidelines. But there's more to the problem than that.
Yeah.
We need design guidelines for this site, and we haven't given them that. So how are we going to give them design guidelines so they
Yeah,
can
how
do
can
their
we-
work?
How can we do
But
that?
are there even design guidelines?
Yeah.
There are.
Yeah.
Well, there are.
Okay.
C3
Yeah,
guidelines. And there-
Okay.
Relatively
Site-specific
site-specific guidelines there are not.
No
But-
specific materials though that you guys want to be used is in this C3, right? So is that something that you're looking for? Like
I would-
places like Banff, they have like their alpine kind of thing, right? And they have a design guideline for that, but I don't see anything like that here. So was that part of your concern as well? Because it's kind of like designing in the dark if we don't know.
their situation.
Well, that's your situation, unfortunately.
Well, I mean,
And
what-
when we react to your application, we're not here to design it for you. We have guidelines that are written in our land use bylaw and our official community plan, which we think you should be able to interpret it and come back to us. But we could provide you, I think, with some sort of high-level concepts that we've already heard in the discussion. And then that has to come back to.
I disagree. I think that we don't have design guidelines for signage on this site.
No, Andrew, we don't have, but I don't think it's, at this point in time, I don't think it's the ability of this commission to be able to create those.
Oh, no, I'm not
No.
suggesting that.
But so. do
I'm
we
just
go-
pointing out that's the
I know,
situation.
I know, but this application is either going to be withdrawn because of the issues that we have discussed here, or we go forward with some recommendations to council as to what we feel is good and what isn't good, based on what's there. So I think that's the purpose of our meeting today. Luke, you were going to.
Yeah, I was gonna just ask Luke, was there anything that was prepared when we did the waterfront master plan, when we went through that process? Anything on in signage? Any of that?
Not so much signage, no.
No,
No, but
that
you know, when we
should
talk
be-
about design guidelines, like Andrew, you mentioned the Qualicum Beach Inn.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
And then across the street, there's the Sand Pebbles Inn, that there was a comprehensive plan developed
that's
for
the
that.
blanket down the street.
So I'll tell you where I'm going with this. That the applicant provides a unique integrated signage plan and facade upgrade that makes the shelf station more compatible with the adjacent Qualicum Beach Inn, proposed Sand Pebbles Inn, and the town's development permit area.
I love it.
Yeah. Good.
Is the Sand Pebbles in gonna happen?
Maybe. I mean,
I
that,
think, just to add, Luke, Sand Pebbles has a pylon sign, which is totally inappropriate. Can we put somewhere in there that the signage has to be low profile for that corner, that the signage and it has to be low
I
profile?
think that's a really good phrase to use for signage. You know, most people who are in contact with that area are in cars, so they're this high. So,
You say it's not the inland highway, we don't.
Yeah, you're not seeing it for five, not like.
Yeah, we're not in the areas.
You're right on
We're not
top.
on the double decker bus. you know.
There's a suburb in Tennessee, just outside of Memphis, called Collierville. Very familiar with it. And it has, I mean, it's a sprawling community. It has a beautiful little downtown like we have, which they have been able to maintain in its era of quality. But all the other modern consumer convenience locations, malls, what have you, they all have monument signs, and every one of the fascia signs, although they may be the logo for the corporation, have all been downgraded or downsized so that it is, everything is low,
Harmonious.
everything is harmonious.
And it didn't you
And
mention
it really is
Carmel?
beautiful.
Carmel.
And you know, national corporate companies come in there, they're upset, but they walk away doing
They
exactly
feel
what
that they're being good
what-
citizens. You gotta give them an opportunity to do something unique, like we're hearing they're doing in Banff.
Yeah.
And they're doing in Sioux. Why can't they do it here? The
So-
Carmel of the Northwest.
Let's hear Luke's.
well, so the second part, so is that the pylon sign be replaced with a lower sign oriented to low speed traffic and pedestrians.
Single face.
Luke, is that, the pylon sign that's shown in this application, that's in the boulevard, isn't it? It's like we've pushed it north already, probably about 6
Correct.
feet.
Correct.
Yeah, so that actually helps the situation. I don't know, because
Yeah.
when I was going by there, I didn't see that existing sign until I was already at the Sand Pebbles, right?
Right.
Like it, oh, there it is, okay. And, but now we're pushing, now a monument sign would be much more in keeping, I think. and it's on our property too.
But we really, I think, gone around this quite well. So I think Luke has captured, and I thank him very much for that, because I was trying to find.
And you gotta remember, there's gonna be another level of complication. Because I sent you a photograph of me doing a royal dancer's pose from Hatha Yoga in the middle of the roundabout as an idea for how to finish the roundabout in the spring.
And I
And
did
you
not yet
never-
distribute that.
You
to the
never
group.
said a word.
You stood there to have the photo
I had my
taken?
photograph taken.
Can you
I wanna
bring it
see
back
that.
back to the head matter at hand? Luke, can you give us a reread what you're
Yeah.
suggesting as a
So
motion?
that the pylon sign be replaced with a lower, single-faced sign oriented to low-speed traffic and pedestrian.
We're getting there.
Okay.
Let's just,
And
talk
then-
about, if you don't mind, just some of this other signage, like inside the
Yeah.
watershed or the car wash.
Yeah.
And some of the smaller and other signage that's not really in public, I don't think it's an issue.
Not to me.
Yeah.
No,
What, like the canopy?
No, inside like the wash
Oh.
area, like maybe even the.
They're very,
banks.
it's very small.
Yeah,
But there's two issues here. There's the issue of the signage and then the lost opportunity for the image of the building. There's two issues going on here. I found a lot of this signage not over the top. But I'd still like to see the image of the building brought to what it could be, you know? And I'd like Shell to be really proud of it.
but the unfortunate thing is they only want a sign. So we're dealing with signs. I know what you're saying, but.
But I think, if you look at that image with the bright yellow and the bright red, like it's really kind of in your face. And I realize, again, it's a corporate image and the logos and things, but incorporating a mix of materials to just, that would enhance the building and enhance the signage as well. It just not that big
yeah.
whack of yellow plastic.
I think they welcome the opportunity to do this. They're good, they're trying to be good corporate. There's a lot against them. They're trying to be good corporate citizens.
So is there more you'd
Is there
like
not,
to say than?
isn't there a second pylon? Is there another one down by the vacuum systems? Is that
A little
sign
one, yeah, a
16?
little
one is smaller.
Oh, it's just small. I've been
Feels
for a
me.
while.
So is there just, is there any other things that we wanted to add to our motion?
Was that something to do with the materials of some of the other signs? Is that covered or?
Well, we could add that perhaps other materials more suitable to the character of the town be incorporated in the large blank areas of their signage, the yellow and the white.
You know, what I really wanted to have happen, you know, the giant canopy that comes over all the pumps. I thought, how often are 6 or 8 cars parked at those pumps? Do they need all those pumps? What if they took the 2 pumps out and just push that canopy back? It'd still be a really prestigious gas station. I wonder if they need all that. Have they thought about what they want to do with that as it ages?
I don't know, I don't think I want to go there. right now.
With due respect, they have thought about what they want to do. They want to leave it as is and change the
So they
signage.
just invested in like new tanks and a whole bunch of stuff, so.
I didn't know
I
that.
don't
That's
think
important
they-
information.
Yeah.
They don't want to change the building. They don't want to change the infrastructure.
Mhm.
They just want to change the signage. What we want to do is try and make the signage more compatible with the surrounding area, the beach area, and more in line with our guidelines.
Are those the vent stacks from the new tanks?
I think they're the new ones, and that's why, and they had to be, you know, the way they used to do tanks is not the way we want them to do tanks now, let's just say that.
Because they're very close to the road.
And they just cleaned it all up. We don't want to do that yet.
No.
I think that the applicant has heard that we want to be more Walker Beach and look at some other materials.
Yes.
And incorporate their corporate image as best they can, but also keep in mind the town of Walker Beach's image. And they have to work in concert with each other.
Yeah, if
Hi
I
there,
may,
it's
sorry. Oh,
No, I was just gonna say, it's Kevin here with Chris Assigns again. So I'm understanding the materials and you wanting to use different materials, not sure what that would be. And yes, with the with the rebranding of the signage and stuff, we would be painting the store and sprucing it up and, you know, just kind of cleaning things up and fixing up the lights and stuff like that too. So it would look much cleaner around there. I mean, that site's kind of had a little bit of neglect over the years, and we're trying to spruce it up and clean it up with the signage and with the painting and stuff like that as well, and cleaning up of the car wash, repairing the walls on there. So it is an overall image that Shell is trying to do. But when you talk about other materials, it'd be interesting to find out from you guys if, you know, like what materials you're looking for.
Well, materials, but also, you know, colors can go a long way too. So
Yes.
it's really encouraging to hear that you're going to be, you know, sprucing it up and painting. So, you know, this might be an opportunity for someone to look at it and say, okay, well, what colors would look best, you know, and complement the adjacent buildings, and then work on signage.
Well, I would suggest that perhaps one of the representatives come to town, drive through and have a look at what our
Yeah.
character is if you haven't been here. And we're not going to tell you specifically, but we would like you to try to be a little closer to what the town has and would like to continue to look.
So we have a lot of stone around our buildings here, so a lot of a more natural look rather than a contemporary kind of look.
We're just,
Yeah.
we're just
You know, we like
undecorated.
timbers here.
Yeah.
We're
Wood's
kind
a
of,
nice thing.
we're very West Coast
Yeah.
predictable.
Wood.
And we like metal too. A lot of the metal that I've seen done
Yeah.
in buildings has been really fabulous addition to that. So some corrugated metal stuff, you know, face fronts, just a mixture of things that, and then the lettering, you know, is really going to be important, I think.
Well, it's, I think that's, that is low.
That's the
Shell.
laundromat?
That's corporate.
Oh, the laundromat is.
Well, I don't
corporate?
know that, but it's
Oh,
keeping
okay.
it, I think that's the font style that is on
Yeah.
the rest of it.
You know, I was just referring to that, because there's gonna be a bank on there. BMO is gonna just have their signage there, and I think further down, we see a different, I think I saw a better view of the front.
We're just saying, just a paint job would do a big,
Yeah, no kidding.
be a big improvement, you know, like, it might even be an idea, we've got some people in town even that do some of this kind of stuff, you know, and maybe just to do a rendering to us and what it could really look like with your signage. And that's not gonna cost a whole lot, and I'm sure that by the time you get a brush out and a gallon of paint and the costs are going to be similar.
I think what we're saying is we'd like you to downplay what the signs do right now. Is
It's a whole-
all we're seeing is signs, but if you could bring some other points of interest to the building along with your signs, it might make a better application.
Let's build that customer base here.
All right.
And we know that they will
So
come, they'll come.
I guess we should move into emotion at this point, unless there's more discussion.
I think it's a great discussion.
And actually, we have to thank the applicant for providing us the opportunity to
Yeah.
be able to discuss it.
Oh,
Because it's a very, very important element to our town.
Well, it's a
and,
gateway. to
yeah,
the-
it's-
Well, if you think about the one in Highway 19 and Village Way, welcome to Qualicum Beach. You know, I mean, that's what this is, only it's down at the foot of Memorial, but we're not doing it on this corner yet.
So, okay, well, let's deal with the motion that Lucas cobbled together.
Okay, so there's two.
Yeah.
So why don't we take them one at a time? The first one is that the APC recommends that the applicant provide a unique integrated signage plan and facade upgrade that makes the Shell station more compatible with the adjacent Qualicum Beach Inn, proposed Sand Pebbles Inn, and the town's development permit area guidelines.
And who's going to move that?
I'll second
Seconded
that.
by Marmy. Discussion. Seeing none, call the question. Those in favor?
When you do things out of
Yeah, I
order,
can
it goes
send that
much.
to
Can I ask, no, can I ask whether it's approving
Yeah, you
it,
started it.
refusing it, or
Oh, it
making,
doesn't,
or
it's
none
not,
of, none of those?
none of those.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
And then the second one would be that the pylon sign be replaced with a lower single-face sign oriented to low-speed traffic and pedestrians.
Moved by Andrew, second by Walter. Yeah, discussion?
Are we including any comment to any of the other signage in that?
I think they'll come back.
It's all part of a package. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, the whole
Yeah, I mean,
thing.
the first motion dealt with the whole,
All right.
and then the second motion is dealing directly.
Just with the
that
one
bylaw.
sign, okay.
No more discussions, call the question. All those in favor? Unanimous? Thank you. We're done. We trust that we didn't frustrate you.
No, not at all. May I ask something
Direction.
procedural though? So is this like a deferred thing where now we come back to you again with another design, or what are my next steps procedurally, other than the design?
This is our recommendation to council, not to.
Planning
Oh,
board.
I'm sorry, to
Yeah,
Luke,
yeah.
I'm sorry, it's to Luke, so you're in the hands of Luke, that's right.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
so this is Luke Sales speaking up. So the next step would be for you to respond, with this, updated signing plan. And at that point, we would schedule another APC meeting, come back for some further discussion. And then, at that point, I think we'd probably be hopefully closer to approval, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I appreciate you guys doing this for us and,
Thank you.
the conversation. I know Shell does want to be a good neighbor to the places around it and a good citizen of Qualicum Beach. So I appreciate the time that you guys took and having this conversation and allowing us to come back with another proposal.
And I'll send you a link to the proposed design across the street, because you wouldn't have that accessible. And then the the Qualicum Beach Inn, you can see through Google Maps, or, even better.
And we apologize for putting through this, as we didn't, or at least I didn't understand the process that you were following with Shell. So you were really caught in the middle of this without any direction, so our apologies.
Yeah,
I warn you to go to Google Maps, because if you're going
Oh,
down the hill, it's still the old Dutch Inn.
Oh, really?
Is it?
Yeah.
No.
I
That's
went to
really
look
old.
at all the signage.
Well,
along
the
the highway.
roundabout-
Can
the
I just
roundabout's
say
not
that-
there.
You're coming down the hill.
Well,
Yeah, but the old Dutch Inn, whoa.
And the roundabout won't be there either. That's the-
Well, on your construction, coming one.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
you should send them some pictures.
Yeah,
It's a
send
field
a
trip.
couple pictures.
yeah. Do you have anyone at the local station working with you, or? are you kind of-
that's more for Kevin. I work for Kevin, basically.
Okay, Kevin, I'm just wondering if, because the local manager would certainly know what's going on and be able to give you all the pictures that you need, right?
I was actually there a few weeks ago when we put the other base in, and that was quite an ordeal. And I have to say, you guys did an amazing job with that roundabout. I took so many pictures standing in the middle of the roundabout, walking around the roundabout, and it's really good. I do have a contact at the store level. I don't know. I mean, she hasn't shared any information with me on this. But yeah, and I do know that Qualicum Beach Inn, they do have a really, really tiny sign there. Well, relative for what, I've basically seen in the past. So definitely, your guys' comments have been very helpful. As Ryan said, we're going to take this back to our client and see what we can come up with, and see if we can actually come up with a lower model pylon sign, if that's what they want to do. If that's, if they don't want to do anything, then obviously they're just going to relocate that current pylon sign to the new base that was poured. And again, we just want to make sure that the client can proceed with this, because obviously having a better looking site is going to be better than what it looks like right now, right? So we want to spruce it up just like the rest of the community.
That's great, really appreciate it, Kevin.
You're kidding.
Yeah. good.
Well, thank you again. So I'll move to adjourn this meeting. If we get a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I don't know, I'm enjoying it. I like to stay here.
Turn off the lights.
Well, I have an Andrew, second, discussion, call the question, all those in favor, unanimous. Thank
Okay,
you all for being here.